Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to have you this morning joining us for what I'm told is the first ever conference on renewable energy jobs. Since my staff told me this, I choose to believe it, and I'm sure it's the case. But I think the significance of this is that we are now witnessing the next stage of growth in renewable energy penetration in the global energy system. Up to now, there's been a sense in the public space that this is perhaps a new technology that is directed to reducing carbon in the atmosphere. It doesn't have the potential to become the power source of the future. And there are a lot of mythologies around this. But I think what we are seeing, and it's been demonstrated over the last 3 days through our discussions at the ministerial level in IRENA, and the opening panel of the World Future Energy Summit, where the emerging countries of Africa looked at their renewable energy future, we are seeing a moment of tremendous opportunity, but the new narrative is built on economic growth, it's built on transformation, it's built on wealth generation, and it's built on this being a source for employment for the future. I think that narrative is the transformative narrative that looks at the next stage of development for renewable energy investment. Many of you are already in this space and you know that we are already here. But how this translates into international recognition is the challenge we have. I'm grateful that you all came because I know there are so many different events that are competing for everybody's attention at the same time. I know our ministers also are in the same situation, but let me introduce our introductory panel. I'm absolutely delighted to have His Excellency Suhail Al-Mazroui, Minister of Energy of the United Arab Emirates. I've come to know Suhail since his recent appointment, and we are delighted to have a Minister of Energy in the UAE, an oil-producing country with the vision and determination he has for the future, and we welcome him today. I'm also absolutely delighted that Mr. Liu Qi, Vice Administrator of the Chinese National Energy Administration, is with us. Mr. Liu Qi and I have been discussing IRENA for over a year now. The level of ambition in China is something that inspires the rest of the world in terms of what's possible in a short space of time. And the drivers for investment in renewable energy in China are the economic transformation, but it's also the environmental issues. And it's not only global environmental issues. When you see the great cities of China like Beijing and Shanghai, with the pollution load that they carry on certain days in the winter, effectively shutting down the cities and damaging productivity, you can see the perspective for China for the future. I'm also delighted that the Secretary General of the Department of Energy of Morocco, Mr. Abdrahim Al-Hafidi, is with us. Morocco is one of the fast movers in the MENA region. Congratulations on your recent Ouarzazate investment. I think that points the way to an extraordinary growth in the MENA region, and your pioneering work on this has been much appreciated. And finally, we have Dr. Carsten Sach, the Director General International Cooperation from the German Federal Environment Ministry. Carsten has been a pillar, as has Germany, in the development of renewable energy over the last years. Germany has played an extraordinary role in the first investments in lowering the cost of technology, in creating the learning curve that we have today. And Carsten is one of those at the international level who has been instrumental in the development of international policy, but also in the establishment of IRENA. He's played an extraordinary role in that. So welcome to all of you. And for our introductory panel, can I ask, I know that Suhail, you and Mr. Liu Qi have to leave quite early because of other events. Suhail, can I ask you to make your introductory comments, please?
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to Abu Dhabi and to this important conference on renewable energy jobs. As Adnan mentioned, this is the first time that we have such a conference, but I am sure this conference will prosper in the future, as we believe in the business and the viability of renewable energy as an industry in the world. The World Future Energy Summit is now in its 7th year, and it's indicative of the United Arab Emirates' commitment to sustainability and energy solutions. This year, IRENA Renewable Energy Jobs Conference brings an additional dimension to the summit, building on its report, Renewable Energy and Jobs. This is the first global study representing a comprehensive view on the various dimensions of renewable energy employment. We are gathered today to contribute to the global debate about renewable energy technologies, not only looking at the cost, but also at the many social economical benefits they generate. These benefits are materializing in the region. At the GCC countries, we have started implementing renewable energy projects. And only in the United Arab Emirates, we so far have 3 projects feeding the grid. As the GCC countries have started implementing renewable energy projects, IRENA estimated that the successful implementation of the existing government targets for renewable energy in the region could reach 116,000 jobs every year until 2030. Achieving the long-term goals of the GCC could result in additional social, economical, and environmental benefits. In the GCC, we all know that most of our countries in the GCC lack enough gas resources to feed our electricity generation grid. Therefore, and with the cost reduction of renewable energy that we have seen in the past 5 years, I think today we can see that renewable energy is much economical to be implemented if you compare it to liquid hydrocarbon to generate electricity. That leaves the renewable energy competing with LNG importation. Because as I mentioned, we don't have enough gas in the GCC countries to feed its growth in the future. And that's what the industry now is working on, to work on to benchmark to gas or LNG. Today, as the world is recovering from the economic crisis, we have a strong interest in the topic of employment as our populations are increasing. We are proud to support the work of IRENA, in particular the activities related to the social economical benefits of renewable energy. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we believe in the sustainability development path with clean energy solutions, as shown by the United Arab Emirates through the implementation of several renewable energy projects and through its support to IRENA activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sohail, and we continue to be inspired by the leadership that the UAE provides as an oil-producing country, looking forward to diversification and a new energy future. And I think that is one of the very powerful signals in the renewable space when there are advocates like yourself for this. Thank you very much. Now I have the great honor to invite Minister Liu Qi to take the floor. You have the floor, sir.
尊敬的阿明先生，各位代表，大家上午好。
Respected Mr. Amin, respected representatives, good morning.
这个别的嘉宾，我估计都是一个人在讲啊，我现在上来2个人，这本身就是在扩大就业。
For other guests, they have only one speaker, but for me, I have 2. This is the expansion of job.
非常荣幸啊，受到总干事阿明先生的盛情邀请，来参加此次会议，也非常高兴呢，能与各位同事啊，共同探讨可再生能源的就业问题。
It gives me great honor to attend the conference at the invitation of Director General, Mr. Adnan Amin. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to share with other ministers my views on the relation between renewable energy and employment.
促进经济增长，实现充分就业，是世界各国政府啊共同追求的目标。特别在当前后金融危机时代和能源转型时代，努力寻找促进就业型经济发展模式和能源的可持续供应模式，成为世界各国经济和能源发展的方向。
Economic growth and high employment rate are the common target pursued by all governments of the world. In the area of post-financial crisis and energy transformation, every country is trying to develop its economic and energy industry with job-creating economic development and sustainable energy supply.
可再生能源资源取之不尽，用之不竭，分布广泛，无处不在，具有产业链长、技术集成性强、资金和劳动力密度高的特点。
Renewable energy sources are inexhaustible, widely distributed. Meanwhile, the renewable energy industry is characterized as a long industry chain, highly integrated technologies and intensive capital and labor.
2012年，中国可再生能源投资约1800亿元，约占电力投资的48%。
In 2012, China's total investment in green power exceeded 18 million RMB, which takes 48% of the power investment.
可再生能源产业通过勘测设计、技术研发、装备制造、施工管理、运营维护等环节，极大地促进了各类和各个层次的劳动就业。
By exploration and design, technology R&D, equipment manufacturing, construction management, operation and maintenance, the renewable energy industry will greatly create different jobs at various industrial sectors.
2012年，中国可再生能源行业创造了约100万个绿色就业岗位，良好的产业发展前景，广阔的个人发展空间，相对优越的薪金待遇，以及改善人类环境的使命感，使可再生能源成为中国最具就业吸引力的新兴行业之一。
In 2012, renewable energy industry in China created more than 10 million green jobs, about 30% of the total renewable energy manpower around the world. With a decent salary and contributions of the renewable energy, the employment in renewable sector is booming.
权威机构研究表明，与传统化石能源相比，同样规模的可再生能源可以带来更多的就业机会。
The study shows that compared with conventional fossil fuel energy industry, the renewable energy industry of the same size can produce more jobs.
到2030年，能源约50%的就业岗位将来自可再生能源。中国国家统计局数据表明，可再生能源单位1000瓦时的从业人数是火电产业的3倍，是核电产业的7倍。
The study shows that compared with conventional fossil fuel energy industry, the renewable energy industry of the same size can produce more jobs. It is projected that by the year 2030, about 50% of the jobs in energy sectors will be created by renewable energy. The data issued by China's National Bureau of Statistics showed that the number of jobs created by the renewable energy sector is 3 times that in the thermal power sector and 7 times that in the nuclear power sector.
总体来看，可再生能源仍是新兴产业，面临技术、人才等多方面的制约。加强人才培养 提高从业人员的素质，是促进产业发展的重要任务。
Generally speaking, as an emerging industry, renewable energy is faced with many constraints in such fields as technology and talents. Therefore, it is an important task to enhance training so as to encourage the industry's development.
为适应可再生能源发展需要，中国已制定了可再生能源人才培养计划，重点培养复合型人才、高级研发人才、专门技术人才及职业培训工作。
To meet the demands of renewable development, China has developed a training program and prioritized the programs for interdisciplinary talents, senior R&D talents, and technicians.
许多高等院校开设了可再生能源相关学科，开展了相关产业技术培训和人才培养活动。许多企业也根据自身需求开展了多种培训工作。这些努力扩大了可再生能源人员培养的渠道，提高了就业人员素质，为可再生能源产业发展提供了有力的支撑。
Many colleges and universities have set up renewable energy-related courses and developed related professional training programs. According to their own needs, some companies have their own training programs. All such efforts provide more channels for personal training in renewable energy industry and enhance their qualities so as to promote the industry.
在国际可再生能源署的积极倡导下，越来越多的国家正在创造更好的政策环境，吸引更广泛的投资，积极推动可再生能源更广泛的应用，并通过技术援助和能力建设等途径，帮助发展中国家提高可再生能源利用水平。
Thanks to IRENA's great efforts, more and more countries are creating sound environment so as to attract more investment and encourage wider utilization of renewable energy. With the help of such measures such as technical assistance and capability building, the capability of developing countries to utilize renewable energy is enhanced.
中国非常愿意在国际可再生能源署的框架下，同各个成员国一道，在继续扩大可再生能源应用的基础上，积极参与国际可再生能源合作，采取更加有效的措施，支持可再生能源人才培养和能力建设，为全球可再生能源发展、转型和能源转型和经济社会可持续发展做出积极的贡献。
Under the framework of IRENA, China is willing to work with other member countries to actively promote international cooperation in renewable energy sector and adopt more effective measures to support the program of talent training and capacity building on the basis of expanding the utilization of renewable energy. China is willing to make contribution to renewable energy growth, global energy transformation, and sustainable development of the human being.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your thought-provoking and inspiring words. And I just want to express our appreciation. This is the first assembly of IRENA where China has become a full member. I think this bodes very positively for the future with the strong engagement, and we have heard your words for the future cooperation, which we welcome. But most of all, I think that you have even set a personal example by creating one new job this morning. So, congratulations. Next, I would like to ask Mr. Abdurrahim Al-Hafidi, Secretary General of the Department of Energy of Morocco, to make his opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Adnan Amin, Director General of IRENA. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to participate to this important conference on behalf of Dr. Abdelkader Amara, Minister of Energy, Mines, Water and Environment in the Kingdom of Morocco. in this important conference organized by the International Renewable Energy Agency, and also it's opportunity for me to share with you the last development in the field of renewable energy strategy and his impact on jobs creation in Morocco. First of all, I congratulate IRENA for the efforts it deploys for the development of renewable energy worldwide and the consolidation of international cooperation that allows to establish concerted and mature strategies able to affirm and consolidate share of renewable in energy mix. Our presence here today together to debate jobs shows the highly strategic importance of employment and training, as well as the shared awareness in the field of renewable energy. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Morocco, who has no fossil resources, recorded sustained growth of its energy needs. Our primary energy demand grows by an average of 5%, driven by the increase of electricity consumption by about 7% per year due to the rural electrification program and the dynamism of our economy and the development in different sectors, mainly industry, agriculture, tourism, housing, and infrastructure. With this dynamism, coupled to the demographic increase and standard of living improvement of the population in the Kingdom of Morocco, we expect the doubling of primary energy demand and tripling of electricity demand by 2020. To meet this demand, Morocco has adopted an ambitious energy strategy since 2009, based on the accelerated development of renewable energy as a main axe of his strategy. As you know, Morocco has considered renewable energy assets. Our wind potential is estimated at 25,000 megawatts onshore only, where 6,000 megawatts is achievable by 2030, with a speed about 9 to 11 meters per second. The solar potential is illustrated by more than 3,000 hours of sunshine per year, equivalent to more than 6.5 kilowatt hour per square meter per day of irradiation. The objective of the Kingdom of Morocco is to increase the share of renewable energy to 42% of the total installed capacity in 2020 by developing 3 integrated projects of 2,000 megawatt solar, 2,000 megawatt wind, and 2,000 megawatt hydraulic. The process of achieving these wind and solar energy projects had begun. Indeed, the realization of the Moroccan wind energy project is properly pursued. Currently, more than 380 megawatts wind are already operating in Morocco, including 100 megawatts implemented by the private company in the very open market under the Law 1309 related to the renewable energy. 550 megawatts are now under construction, 250 megawatts under development, and 850 megawatts is launched to be developed by 2020. As for the hydraulic sector, Morocco aims to support the development of the production capacity of wind power sources through the implementation of additional production capacity of hydropower sources through the development of 550 megawatts as energy transfer station by pumping. The objective of this coupling is to reduce the impact of intermittency generated by wind farms of the national electricity system. Concerning the integrated solar program, the steps taken by Moroccan Agency for Solar Energy in the development and interest worldwide in this program, in particular for Ouarzazate 1 of 160 megawatts to internationally renowned developer and international financial institutions are very promising. Bid tenders for Warzaza 2 and Warzaza 3, totalizing 300 megawatt, will be soon launched. Beyond their contribution to meet our future energy needs, these ambitious plans will allow us to develop local expertise to master advanced technologies for the enhancement of our renewable energy resources. Important and necessary reforms have been undertaken at legislative levels, regulatory and institutional framework in order to establish an enabling environment for accelerated development of renewable energy and its inclusion in the dynamic development of regional and international cooperation and market integration. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, important and necessary reform were important also and necessary reforms are undertaken also in institutional reform with creation of Moroccan Agency for Solar Energy, public enterprise of investment, and a renewable energy and energy efficiency agency. Aware of the crucial role of qualified human resources able to bring of these new energy strategy and meet the needs of companies and institutions working in renewable energy and energy efficiency sectors, Morocco aims to build a coherent, scales, training national strategy. In this purpose, a sectorial study was conducted in 2011 to specify the potential human resource needs in those sectors. This study revealed that by 2020, the implementation of the national energy strategy will contribute to the creation of nearly 50,000 jobs, including 36,000 related to energy efficiency and 30,000 to renewable energy. To address these needs, we shall have to create by 2020 some 5,300 engineers jobs, 17,000 technician jobs, and 23,000 skilled workers jobs. To do so, we develop a specific training plan in the Kingdom of Morocco. Renewables are included in various economic and social programs throughout a variety of projects: wind farm, solar thermal plants, pumping station, hydraulic turbines, energy from waste, water pumping, etc. Hence, the importance of training supports. Engineering schools already exist, are very active in this area, have a plan to form engineers, including renewable energy engineers, but we need training to technicians mainly in maintenance and operation wind farms, maintenance and operation of solar equipment, CSP, concentrated solar power installation, maintenance of solar PV and solar water heater in biomass, reservoir management, biomass biogas, recovery and technician in energy efficiency. In this proposal, the study recommended the establishment of 3 institutes for professional training in renewable energy and energy efficiency. These institutes, whose management will be delegated to professionals, will be training centers of reference to respond to skills needs in the renewable energy sector and all sectors concerned by energy efficiency. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to support solar and wind program, Morocco has opted for a gradual industrial integration to accelerate the appropriation of promising technologies and the development of a national industrial base, allowing the creation of employment. This is the offer of the components energy industry in order to promote local manufacturing facilities producing energy from renewable resources and those that ensure a more national use of energy throughout funding from the Energy Development Fund, in addition to the benefits already granted by the state in terms of investment incentives. National research structures have been enriched by the creation of Research Institute for Solar Energy and the New Energy IRENA, which will consolidate and develop our network capacity for research and development on together topics related to the development and industrialization of innovative solutions and technological field. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Kingdom of Morocco attaches particular importance to developing cooperation with countries who have an interest in promoting the use of renewable energies. Training and ongoing training should be developed in anticipation of future needs. The Moroccan energy strategy does not only entail costs, it will also have a positive impact on the national economy, particularly of companies in different regions of Morocco, and will result in job creation and local revenue. Our energy strategy is the key to success. It will create reliable and economically viable conditions. I return my thanks to the organizer and the IRENA, who helped create a new job, new ways of cooperation and partnership, particularly in the institutional and technological fields, and will facilitate further exchange of experience and the exploitation of synergies between members. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Abdrahim. Thank you for your excellent statement and extraordinary progress being made in Morocco. I know that we are competing with many events and some of our speakers may have conflicts, so if in the course of this you really need to leave, please, we will not take offense. But let me now turn to Karsten Sach. Karsten, you have the floor, please.
Excellencies, Director General, ladies and gentlemen, friends of renewable energies. It's a great honor to speak at the first International Renewable Energies Jobs Conference. I would like to thank IRENA for organizing it. At the latest, at the Rio +20 conference in 2012, all countries rallied behind the concept of green economy. You mentioned it earlier on. What does it mean? We want to create sustainable growth for a world of 8-9 billion people. We want to eradicate poverty, to create access to education, social security, energy, a decent living for all people on our planet. At the same time, we have to prevent the collapse of our ecosystem. We cannot continue to consume our natural resources at current rates at the expense of future generations. We are sure that in this green growth, renewable energies are a cornerstone. Why? It offers huge opportunities for green growth. In 2011, 18% of the global final energy consumption was supplied by renewable energies. That includes, as you all know, traditional biomass. $244 billion were invested in the renewable energy sector. Significant employment has been created in countries that have made renewable energies a strategic priority. More than 5.7 million people were employed directly or indirectly worldwide. These jobs, in fact, have strengthened the case for renewable energies not only as an answer to climate change, but also as an opportunity to sustainable growth. Which effects did it have in Germany? In Germany, you know, we are in the middle of an Energiewende, a complete transformation of our energy system. Our objective is to guarantee a future energy supply that is secure, sustainable, and economically viable. This transition involves significant structural economic changes that spread across all sectors of industries, from steel production to services up to the financial sector. It has always been a key interest of the German government to better understand the job effects of our renewable energy deployment, because it's a positive narrative. And if I'm discussing with traditional industries, that questions always come up. Our latest study shows that in 2012, almost 378,000 people were employed in the renewable energy sector in Germany alone. That means a rise of 135% since 2004, when data were first collected. But we're not looking only to the past, we're looking to the future. And according to our long-term analysis, positive net employment effects can reach between 100 and 180,000 by 2030. Even under pessimistic assumptions, the long-term net employment is assumed to be positive. As you know, we have seen, inter alia, because China was that successful, a number of jobs disappear, in particular in PV module production in Germany. That creates public debate. But if you look at the figures, the job losses are limited due to the fact that today module manufacture is highly automized and modules only account for about 30% of the entire PV system. Many solar jobs are still active in Germany, e.g. in the area of manufacture of production equipment, installation, and maintenance spread throughout the country. Global supply chains in the renewable energy industries strengthen competitiveness and accelerate the transition to renewables. Of course, that may also mean that jobs will move, but that's normal in international markets. Still, a strong domestic market and a highly skilled workforce secure significant shares of domestic value creation. And at the same time, just want to state it, because sometimes it's mistaken, our economy benefits from decreasing prices for PV modules created by the severe competition on the world markets. So, but even more important, what is the nature of renewable energy jobs? Studies on employment effects also tell us what jobs are created. First, you can see that jobs in renewable energies are highly diversified, from technicians to academics, from engineers to welders. A very broad range of qualifications is needed. Secondly, employees are highly qualified. Specialists of various disciplines are attracted to the sector, which at the same time are interdisciplinary in character, and that has created significant demand for continuing qualification and training. Thirdly, jobs in the sector are decentralized, so they're a good point to develop your rural areas, both in manufacturing and even more so in operation and maintenance. In some, and perhaps most important, jobs in renewable energies are set out well for the future. If we look at the trends of the global green economy, so they are future safe. Moving towards a renewable-based energy supply, we see traditionally separate sectors of the energy system emerging. Innovations in areas such as power to heat, power to gas, and battery technology combine electricity generation with the heating and cooling, building, and mobility sectors. Opportunities to closer connect demand and supply are introduced by advances in IT, metering, and control technology. Already today, technologies allow us, by our iPhone, to remotely monitor our household's electricity consumption and start the washing machine when electricity prices are low. These advances empower energy consumers who increasingly enter the game as decentralized producers. as well. So, democratize energy. All these examples illustrate merging is not limited to subsectors of the energy system. Rather, innovations in energy technology also shift the boundaries of other economic sectors. These developments are in line with the larger socio-economic trends of smart technology and rising interconnectivity. In conclusion, the transition to a renewables-based energy system drives structural changes that are here to stay. The jobs that are created enjoy excellent perspectives for the future. In closing, what does it mean for international cooperation? The debate on renewable energies is often dominated by rising cost issues. I'm very glad that IRENA contributes to a more balanced debate that also takes into account the benefits of renewable energies by putting a focus on job effects, on social development, on societal development. Also, it's crucial to take the debate on an evidence-based policies for job creation from renewables to an international dimension. In this regard, I also would like to mention our joint efforts coordinated by IRENA in the Clean Energy Ministerial Econ Value Project. It analyzes economic value creation along the solar and wind value chain. The IRENA report, Renewable Energies and Jobs, sets a milestone for the international debate on renewable energy jobs. It's a beginning, and I wish that all of you get inspired and contribute to the debate to come. Thank you very much, and thank you again, IRENA, Rabia, for this excellent work. Thank you.
Thank you, Karsten. Karsten has been one of the architects of IRENA, and he's spent many long years working on the creation of the agency, discussing its institutional structures. And it's wonderful, Karsten, that today we don't have to talk about that. We can actually talk about renewable energy in the future. So thank you very much for all your contribution. We have a special guest with us today who I asked to join us. And we've heard government perspectives. But we have with us Francesco Starace, who is the CEO of Enel Green Power from Italy. And Francesco is one of those very innovative and forward-looking CEOs of large renewable energy companies that are looking at how the global market is changing and what their changing role in that is going to be, and contributing to this positive narrative we're discussing from the government side, actually from the private sector side. So, Francesco, can we ask you just to share with us in the opening session some of your perspective to help us get a better idea from that side of the equation, how this is seen by yourself and your colleagues, and where we can go with this. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Adnan. I wasn't expecting this, and I'm sorry for the voice. I have a little bit of a cold that developed. But certainly, I think we should be very excited about this conference here, because jobs, these are big words in many parts of the world, and they are the dream of millions and millions of people in many other parts of the world, perhaps except this one where we're living right now. So I am quite impressed by the study that was carried out by IRENA. I have read a lot of studies on green jobs. And by the way, there is a little bit of a surprise every time you take another study about green jobs and you see that it starts again from the beginning all the times. And I wonder, why is it that this industry is studying this aspect so much? Why are we so obsessed by job creation in the renewable energy industry? And I think this study sets a clear benchmark of excellence. It is a very comprehensive, quite broad study that covers all the aspects, and I think it does a very good job. basically sets the clear sign that yes, renewable energy does create jobs on a net basis. It destroys some jobs, it creates more on one side. I mean, that's, I think, for good, a fact now. Why did it take so long? I mean, why did we study this so long and we were so obsessed by it? I think it has to do with the fact that renewable energy basically was launched in Europe, and it was launched to dislodge fossil production. So there was a little bit of an issue there, you know. You're closing something, are you opening something else? What is the net result of the economy? And this debate, if you look closely, it's still in the head of some of our economic experts and in some of the politicians that run Europe today. I think it is basically an old discussion. We're not that interested anymore. This is already today a global industry, moving very widely around the world and trading goods and services around the world in a very competitive manner, increasingly so. So it's not anymore a European-only industry, it's a world industry, and it's becoming a very competitive one day after day. So what jobs, in fact, are there? And I think Mr. Sachs was very good in his statement, because the jobs we're talking about are very different from the jobs that perhaps were in the minds of people that started this analysis some years ago. You know, I come from a large industry myself. I was in a big utility. I'm still in a big utility, so I know what jobs are we talking about. And the jobs of the renewable energy industry are very difficult, very different, very diversified, quite technologically challenging. They require a lot of skills, and by the way, they appeal to a lot of different people. It is very difficult to, let's say, make a catalog of the jobs. In fact, we have a problem in our company, in a big utility, where we have a catalog of the jobs, and then we have the utility part, and then we have the renewable part, and the catalog of the renewable part is a very thick one. It's a lot bigger, even if the business, maybe it's not that big. So it's a very fragmented and interesting environment. It has to do with a very turbulent evolution of technology. So you cannot really say that this is it. It keeps changing. It has to do with the mixing of different industries in a new field which is being defined. It has to do also with entrepreneurship. A lot of these jobs are such that they can be carried out by smaller institutions, smaller companies. They can be done by basically small shops. So it is not uncommon for us to see in new countries, in countries where this renewable energy penetration starts, to see people getting trained, becoming good at it, and then setting up their own shops and becoming entrepreneurs and developing an economy that lives independently from big companies. It is a very exciting moment for renewable energy, and it is a very exciting moment because a lot of jobs are created that in turn create additional jobs. So read this book because it's a very interesting reading. It's quite exciting, and it covers very well all the aspects that we wanted to address. Can we actually prove that they create net positive jobs? Yes. But also other aspects. What is the gender's diversification profile? Much more women, many more women than we thought. And why this is a surprise, I don't know why, but it is a surprise. And there is a lot of things that are addressed in the book. So I prize it. I think it's a very interesting reading, and I look forward for the rest of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Francesco is also leading our Coalition for Public Support. And we have a growing understanding that to really drive the change in the narrative, the public support issue has to be addressed, and this is one of those central elements for that dialogue to proceed. I've been told I have to make my opening speech, but I wanted to, as I was listening to these great presentations this morning, I was remembering 7 years ago, I was living in New York. We had a transition in leadership in the presidency of the United States at a moment when we were going through a moment of existential survival for the global economy, because the current financial model had led us to a position where it was no longer sustainable. And you could just feel the fear in global markets in terms of where we were going. But one of the more interesting ideas that emerged from that discussion, and the President-elect of the United States, Barack Obama, was one of those taking this idea forward, is that it is not only a financial crisis. We have reached this point because we have a crisis in where our current model is going, and that we need a transformation for the future, and that transformation should be built on a change in infrastructure, in the type of jobs we create in the economy, and moving to a sustainable basis, both in terms of the financial structure, but also in terms of the real economy. And that was, an idea that was very powerful at the time. But as people's attention turns to everyday recovery and dealing with day-to-day issues, they lost that perspective. I think that is the perspective that we still need to keep in mind, because renewable energy has to be a core of that new growth path we're seeing in many of the traditional economies that are developed economies today, that we have reached a point of stagnation that is not just an issue of economic performance. It's an issue of how do you organize economies for the future. And we're also looking at developing countries that are growing fast, but that cannot afford to go down the path that others have followed on the basis of a very different historical resource base that we had. So this is a moment of transition. But what happens in these moments of transition always is that as new entrants and new ideas emerge, there is always the issue of the incumbency that you have to deal with. And over the last 3 or 4 days, we have been discussing in great detail why is there resistance to renewables? Why is the narrative so clouded? How do we actually project a much better picture of how we're doing this? And it's very clear. In the established industries where tens of millions of dollars are spent on messaging, there are very clear messages. We hear of these wonderful phrases, like clean coal. I don't believe there is such a thing, but clean coal is part of the narrative. The golden age of gas is part of the narrative. But we are arguing amongst ourselves about little details, but not looking at the big picture of transformation that we are in the vanguard of. So I think that is really the issue that we need to move forward. And I think one of the principal levers of this argument is going to be the question of, can we really generate growth, prosperity, and employment? And in a world today where we are seeing historically high levels of unemployment, the employment message is one of those that can really resonate. So this is why I think we are absolutely delighted to have had the partnerships with many of you in this room that allowed us to develop a report that really becomes, as Francesco said, a benchmark in this debate and looking forward. So we're honored to convene this first global conference looking at the employment effects of renewable energy deployment, and it builds on the report that we launched a couple of days at the IRENA Assembly, with the target of bridging the knowledge gap in terms of specific analytical and empirical evidence on renewable energy deployment employment at a global scale. So this is a unique first opportunity to share knowledge, experience, and best practices among policymakers, key experts from public and private sectors, and working together, we are convinced that we will come to a greater understanding of how we can generate greater employment growth. To reach this goal, we will discuss the different dimensions of renewable energy employment by addressing global employment dynamics, the policy environment that can maximize job creation, education and training policies that are required, and the local development benefits, including energy access and empowerment of women. All of these issues were highlighted during our ministerial discussion at the IRENA Assembly. Those of you who participated may remember we had two segments, one on innovation and technology, and one on the development of regional approaches to scale up renewables. And we heard one minister after another asking the question that can innovation drive the kind of investment we need? Can we go to scale at the regional level? But most of all, what does this mean for our economies, for our people, for employment, and for the generation of future growth? We have some limitations. There is currently no comprehensive time series data on global renewable energy employment, but we have strong evidence that the number of jobs has likely more than doubled in the last 5 years, and renewable energy is now a significant global employer. The research we carried out finds that in 2012 there were 5.7 million people in renewable energy jobs globally, and that this figure is probably on the more conservative side. The bulk of employment in renewables is currently concentrated in China, the European Union, Brazil, the United States, and India. These countries have positioned themselves strategically in the manufacturing segment of renewable energy value chain. They're also the main producers of biofuels feedstock and major installers of production capacity. While the bulk of employment is found in a relatively small number of countries, more and more are deploying renewable energy and reaping employment benefits, specifically in installation and operation and maintenance. And I think Francesco gave us a very, very graphic example of how penetration is driving that. The largest numbers of jobs are found in biofuels and solar photovoltaic, with about 1.4 million for each technology, and they're followed by solar heating and cooling, wind, and biomass, each employing several 100,000 people. By comparison, other technologies are currently much smaller employers, and this is a point we have to consistently put forward. To put the 5.7 million figure in perspective, one interesting number is that the coal sector, which in the same year, 2012, was employing 7 million people. The renewable sector has the potential to continue adding millions of jobs in the years to come, but coal has a horizon. In the context of IRENA's Global Renewable Energy Roadmap, which we have put forward to meet the aspirational target of doubling the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix by 2030, we estimate that jobs in the renewable energy sector can reach around 16.7 million by 2030, which is almost 3 times the figure of today. In a world recovering from economic crisis and stressed by high unemployment rates, this job potential is a major consideration for policymakers to take into account. Given the number of people needed to meet the expected demand for skilled labor in the sector, the importance of education and training policies cannot be overstated. One of our most popular websites is the International Renewable Energy Learning Platform, which provides a platform where training and education opportunities can be offered. The skills gap and labor shortage could become major barriers to further deployment of renewable energy technologies, and this is already becoming the case in some countries. So we need a forward-looking approach that will address all the skills training requirements in a timely manner. The public sector has its primary role to play in integrating renewable energy into curricula and training programs, but the private sector is also well placed to provide relevant technical skills through on-the-job apprenticeships and training programs linked to their investment strategy. The needs of this sector can be most effectively met when both the public and private sectors collaborate closely and build on their respective strengths. Policies are most effective when they are pursued in conjunction with each other and in coordination with broader economic policies such as industrial and labor policies. In this context, it's absolutely essential the steadiness and predictability in government policies and regulatory frameworks to ensure stability and continued growth of employment. Of course, support policies need to adjust to changing market environments, but the experience of recent years shows the need to avoid abrupt policy reversals, as they have often the opposite effect of that which is intended. The necessity to tailor the mix of policies to specify country conditions is even more evident in the context of access to modern energy services. Dedicated policies are required to generate growth, create employment, and improve the livelihoods of millions of people who are still deprived of energy access. IRENA's activities on jobs and other socioeconomic benefits support the more comprehensive analysis of renewable energy deployment, and this helps to move the discussion from one exclusively focused on economic cost to one that also considers additional socioeconomic benefits. And this helps to really make the case, the business case for renewables. So IRENA has a role to play in this regard as a central repository of data, information, and analysis on renewable energy and employment, and more broadly on value creation in the economy. And we are confident that the findings of this conference will provide the international renewable energy community as a whole with a greater understanding for making informed policy choices in this important area going forward, and as we are told, to explore tomorrow's jobs today. Thank you very much.